Well, hello, creatives community and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and all of you are the co hosts on a channel in which we talk all things tabletop role playing games. And this week we are continuing our Monster Mayhem series. I actually didn't have a desire to do it, except I did see a video from the guys over at Tabletop Terrors. They have a YouTube channel. They really don't need my help, but um, their short video did inspire me. I am always inspired by randomized things. Of course, this video of from Tabletop Terrors was about role-playing games, and they were talking about rogues galleries as a theme, an inspiration, a fount of knowledge in terms of creating or in place of using a big bad in your role-playing games, especially fantasy. And I was like, and the minute that came up, of course, me being a huge fan of comic books and growing up with them, and really being a part of the Silver Age and classic superheroes having these large entourage of these like bad guys that would revolve in and out, and especially having grown up with the era of Todd McFarlane, where he kind of rebooted a large number of Spider-Man villains up until the point of the actual introduction of Venom. I said, man, we've really got to do this. So this week we're going to talk about we're in our Monster Mayhem series. We're going to talk about rogues galleries, break down the core essential value of what makes a rogues gallery, who has some great ones, and just talk about it and get some great ideas. So today we're going to do Spider-Man. Tomorrow, of course, fighting as a top contender, we're going to do Batman. And then I thought we would try to do teams because in role playing games, more often than not, there's usually more than one player. So we're going to do teams, the X-Men and the Justice League. And then we'll end off on Friday with normally being Future Friday. We're going to end it off with Sith Lords from Star Wars because I think that despite their skill sets being similar in nature, I think we can really pull some ideas from that. So today we're going to do. Let's open up the chat here. We're going to delve into Spider-Man. Now, of course, Spider-Man. Not that I have to explain Spider-Man, but Spider-Man, young kid, bitten by a radioactive spider, given the powers of a spider, swinging around and climbing and jumping and flipping around his friendly neighborhood in New York City and fighting various enemies. But when I looked at the the rogues gallery of Spider-Man, something clicked in my head, especially for like fantasy gaming, that was like, wow, there's a more than a little bit, there's something in Spider-Man's rogues gallery that has a through line. So Tesla, and we do have a Discord. You can find that information down below in the video. But there's a Tesla says, I think the story you were thinking of is The Man Who Folded Himself by David Gerrold. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know that story. But was I paralleling it? I think so. I think absolutely. So anyway, Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery includes the Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Dr. Octopus, Venom, Electro. Venom's actually rather new. Venom and Carnage are far more new than you would think. Anyway, Electro, Mysterio, Sandman, Kraven the Hunter, the Vulture, of course, Carnage, the Lizard, the Rhino, Black Cat, the Scorpion, the Shocker, etc. Together with Batman and Superman's, it's considered probably the most well-known rogues gallery in all of comicdom. Hot take, I kind of think of Superman's rogues gallery as being pretty weak. Superman's has a pretty weak sauce rogues gallery, not as extensive or whatnot. But okay, let's define what makes up a rogues gallery first. So one of the things, maybe we can come up with 3 to 5 good definitions. And as I've actually explained this off camera, but I try not to do too much research in our live broadcast because I want to allow the co-hosts themselves out there to participate as much, and most of them are very brilliant. So I think what makes a really good rogues gallery, one is um, a good mix of challenges. So most rogues galleries, I think for villain, I mean, well, the villains that can challenge our heroes, our protagonists, are a good mix of challenging the protagonists themselves. So uh, uh, using Superman as an example, despite the fact that I think he's got a weak sauce crew, is that oftentimes they will be challenged in ways in which it's difficult to fight their adversary one on one. So, of course, we have with Superman, you have kryptonite. So, oftentimes when the protagonist is physical, they may have someone in their rogues gallery that is superior to them physically. Batman has one named Bronze Tiger, who's a much better martial artist than Batman is one on one. Superman has like Mongol, who's a who controls Battle World, who's a physical presence. Same thing with Doomsday is a physical, in some respects, a physically superior to Superman, and Spider-Man has a number of them that are physically superior. But oftentimes, the hero has to pull on other resources, smarter. Maybe they use gadgets. Maybe they have to convince their adversary of something. Use emotional ties and whatnot. I think a second thing that really works with Rogues Gallery is the some kind of connection. Most of the time, much like the argument with people who are not into comic books with Batman, why doesn't Batman just kill Joker? Oftentimes, a really good Rogues Gallery has a number of individuals that has an emotional tie to the hero, and that tie to the hero makes it difficult for the hero to just shrug off their moral outlook and whatnot, and not really kill off their adversary. Now, does this mean that all of the rogues galleries like that? No, not necessarily. They don't necessarily have to have an emotional tie to all of them, but especially for Spider-Man, for since we're talking about Spider-Man today, a lot of them were like mentors or scientists, best friends, co-workers, people the same age, other high school students, and whatnot. So they often had a tie to our hero or our protagonist outside the costume. And even in the costume, there might have been some misunderstandings as far as their lifestyle and whatnot. So I think there should be some kind of tie. I think a third thing for Rogues Gallery is the revolving list. So, hey, Princess Bra says, "You mean Batman doesn't have a big emotional tie to Calendar Man? I'm crushed." Listen, the Calendar Man is already suffering enough just by being Calendar Man. Beating up on the guy is just all right, Brawhammer. Thank you very much. But yes, you are so correct. Calendar Man, there's some pretty ridiculous individuals in the rogues galleries. You gotta admit, but I think the revolving list I think makes a good rogues gallery as well, like a Calendar Man or Stilt Man or something like that. Like individuals in the gallery that you kind of sprinkle in like a good seasoning. And if you sprinkle them in too much, it's like food, too much salt. Doesn't taste too good. But then if you don't sprinkle them in enough, they kind of fade away into the background. I believe there was a Condiment Man somewhere in the comic books at one point. Ketchup and mustard. Paste Pot Pete is is a ridiculous one who's like shoots adhesive or something like that. It's pretty ridiculous. Uh, I would say, lastly, a rogues gallery really works if they are um, they are stronger together than separate, and having uh, Pelor's like, just Google Calendar Man. I am now concerned. This is a thing. Yeah, Batman's like, yeah, I'm not gonna kick your ass too much. I think you already went down a terrible pathway and you need help. Which is why he always takes him to Arkham Asylum because he's like, yeah, you could have come up with a better costume, better name. Just patting him on the back of the head. They even did a silly in the animated Justice League animated series. They even did something silly with what was it, the Flash, where the Flash meets one of the bad guys. I can't remember the character's name. It's not the Riddler. Maybe it's the Juggler or something like that. And basically talks him into turning himself into the police after having a drink in a bar. I was like, oh man, oh no. Condiment Man and Paste Pot Pete are both DC villains. Are you sure? Because I could have sworn Paste Pot Pete fought the Fantastic Four. I'm going to challenge you on that. I can't remember. And of course, in comic books, even with rogues galleries along with the heroes, both Marvel and DC have classically stolen ideas from each other. They almost have Marvel created their own version of a Justice League led by Hyperion at one point, and so on and so forth. So they've all stolen each other's ideas, mainly because they, A, marketing, and B, most of the people that worked for Marvel and DC have been hired and let go and worked under contract and whatnot. So they took their ideas with them. So that's very much it. Yep. Yeah, Paste Pot Pete is Marvel. Yeah, but I remember Paste Pot Pete being taken out by the receptionist, the robotic receptionist of the Fantastic Four back in the mid '80s, maybe late '80s, something like that. Tried to break in the Fantastic Four tower, and a receptionist was like, "Nope." Anyway, Rogues Galleries also, I think, allow us to. It's like it allows us to keep the same themes but revolve through them, much like having your favorite sack of dice. You may reach into your sack of dice and pull out a different one, but within the confines of your sack of dice, your can of dice or whatever, your drawstring of your crown royal bag of dice, the theme inside of that remains the same. So a good rogues gallery like from Spider-Man and the Flash and Batman, despite the fact that there may be, upwards of 20 or 30 different adversaries, you can still go back to the next ones. And I think for fantasy gaming, it's a little bit difficult to have a rogues gallery because oftentimes it's a matter of life and death. But if you can have those individuals disappear and come back and have a reoccurring theme, I think the players would get a kick out of it. And I remember when late teenager, maybe early 20s or something, we're playing some Dungeons and Dragons, and I was getting pretty bored with the encounter, roll initiative, life or death, move on to the next, wash, rinse, repeat. And I had like 5 goblins in this horde or something like that decide to break off and steal all the goodies. So the players at the end of it were like, "Wait, so the 5 that ran stole all the treasure?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it dawned on them that the adversaries they were fighting were out for more things than just fighting the PCs, that they wanted to live too, that they had their own agendas. So the next game they were trying to track down these goblins, and the goblins themselves were throwing adversaries in the way of the player character. So the goblins would go and piss off some local ogres, and the ogres were in front of the player characters. And this was like, I remember like the basic set or something. And they would throw the ogres in front of the player characters, spreading rumors and setting up traps, and they were running. And then I remember a person in our gaming group decided to run a game. He's like, "Oh, I got a great idea." So I got to play in the game, and he used those same 5 goblins. And eventually, they never had names or never specific names, but they were all named like adjective names, like snotty and fang tooth and farty butt and all. It was some dumb names, and we just gave them. And even amongst the 5 of them, they were like revolving through, and it just became this running joke. And the goblins were never villainous, right? And so a good rogues gallery a lot of times has characters in it that have agendas that aren't necessarily brutal and completely malicious and evil, but they're just trying to survive in their own criminalized miscreant type of way, that the hero themselves may or may not, they may not need to beat ass as hard as we would think they are. Like, for example, maybe there is a part of the rogues gallery that's just a demon that's just trying to get back to the abyss, but is so not demonic that they keep getting kicked back out, and they're just like, oh man, I'm trying to get back again. And so, yeah, P. Braheimer says, Captain Dirk, snotty and rocky. Yeah, instead of Captain Kirk, it's Captain Dirk. Instead of Scotty, it's snotty. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just some dumb names. Now, um, here's something that I noticed for Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, and I want to know if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, or if you notice this as well when I bring it up. Spider-Man and his Rogues Gallery, for the most part, is one built around, is very naturalistic and elemental. And I'm thinking, if you really wanted to translate Spider-Man and his Rogues Gallery, I think a druidic ranger naturalistic kind of thing actually fits really well. Okay, so sorry, let me go back to the. Yeah, I use that same. Yeah, Tesla puts in the image in the Discord is the exact same image I use for the thumbnail. So let me read off these names here. All right, so Spider Man is a spider, right? And we have ourselves Doctor Octopus, Venom, okay, Sandman, Elemental, Craven the Hunter, kind of Ranger ish, okay, the Vulture, the Lizard, the Rhino, Black Cat, the Scorpion. Okay, then we have the Shocker, Electro. Like Spider Man has quite a number of elemental, and let's go with some other ideas that weren't even listed. Hydro Man is one. I'm thinking of some other animalistic enemies he's had. There was a Star Wolf at one point. Spider-Man has had variations off of Spider as well, like Man Spider, the Fly, things like that. There's a little bit of a elemental, naturalistic part of Spider-Man where there's a theme. Now, someone responded to the original video from Tabletop Terrors that, well, not really into rogues galleries because prefers to have more of a narrative stance, a more of a narrative link with their heroes, their protagonists. And I would dare say that yes, if you were to take Spider-Man or Batman's Rogues Gallery and then bring them into your game, they may not have the link, but that doesn't mean our creativity stops right there. I feel like I feel like we can just take the core essential values of a lot of these characters and then weave them in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mentioned a vulture there. Yeah. Uh, one of the first ones I mentioned there, Dead Man. Yeah, the Vulture and Doctor Octopus and the rest of them. Yeah, and the idea that you linking them into the characters' backgrounds, like for example, their origins might be from the player characters. From your player characters, they let's start with their childhood. Let's start from birth and childhood. So they might be related, cousins, grew up in the same village. If we move further on into adolescence, maybe they met them. For example, it could be like the Prince and the Pauper, right? Where the player characters as young adults met some of these individuals that might flow into their rogues gallery, which makes me think of another element that makes a rogues gallery, and that is growth. A number of these characters in a rogues gallery, along with our heroes having little small changes here and there through their life cycles, a lot of the characters in a rogues gallery pretty ridiculous and in their inceptions have been taken and twisted and um, dare I say matured through time. So yeah, and going into more things like with Black Cat and Scorpion. Did mention Black Cat and Scorpion. Morpheus is another one, or is it? Mobius, the living vampire. But the the idea that the the rogues gallery can grow and change from their inception all the way into the future with the player characters, I think really works. I remember reading one comic book with there's a dumb villain known as the Whirlwind, I believe his name is. Wears a dumb conical hat. He looks like a top. He wears a green outfit. It looks pretty ridiculous. And he was having a fight with the Wasp, and for some reason he was able to grab the Wasp and knock her down and pin her down. And now I'm going to describe something that's pretty dark, but just think about it. So he knocks her down, and then I forget how his mask was shaped, but then he starts like licking her face, and she's like, "Ooh, what the hell?" Right? And he says something like, "You don't think the only reason I dress up in this ridiculous outfit and attack you is because I've been obsessed with you when you were a fashion model, and it's worth it being beaten and taken to jail over and over again to just have another moment to be close to you," or something like that. And it was ridiculous, but I was like, that's a good motivation for a perv to want to go after a hero, right? Like, it's not robbing the bank. He's just like, nah, that's just a side effect. I get to be with because I'm obsessed with this fashion model, which in the beginning, the Wasp in the comic books was a fashion model. I was like, I'll give you a slow clap, creators, because he's a pretty ridiculous character. Which, the fact that his head stays still, but his body spins around at a hyper fast speeds like a whirlwind is just even even having to explain it through some kind of like mutant power or something is pretty ridiculous. Gribble says, I use fate points from Warhammer to do this. A PC can use a fate point to evade death, and some NPC enemies have them too. Now, superhero gaming, they often have this, but I've awarded, inspiration in Dungeons and Dragons to allow a, relatively minor villain to escape. As a matter of fact, I remember playing in a series where one of the heroes was fighting some. This wasn't my game, but I was a player character in it, and the character was fighting were rats, and for some reason the dice just were not working in favor of either side. The 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 player character was fighting using a monk and trying to like, take out the were rat. The were rat was trying to fight them, and it was just back and forth, low roll, low roll, low roll, and it was like what, and um the DM was just like, man, they're going to escape, and let him escape. Here's inspiration. Let him escape. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. And then the were rat came back by spreading rumors and trying to backstab us as player characters and stuff, and became this reoccurring character. And I like the idea of let's see, in Monty Cook's Numenera games, they have something known as a GM intrusion, which is the GM gets to decide a thing happens and pays for it by giving the characters, I believe they're called experience points in the game, and I think you give out one to the player that's most affected, and then that player gives one to another player character. But anyway, a lot of games have things like fate points, moxie, hero points, inspiration, something like that. And I think that's a good way to like really, if you don't already have a rule for this, to allow the villain to get away, especially if they're minor. Because if they're minor villains, sometimes it's kind of cool to see the same face show up, and a rogues gallery doesn't need to have they don't need to have a villain that's like, haha, twirling the classic twirling the mustache, I'm in control of everything. If you just have a worm tongue character or a rival paladin who is always trying to gain more vainglory, like, no, I'm a better paladin than the other paladin in the group. Like, they're not a villain in the classic sense of I want to murder you, but I'm an adversary, which I think I'm defining as two different things. That reoccurring individual can compound things if more than one of them keeps showing up. So maybe you do have a worm tongue speaking in the ear of leadership and convincing them to, make rulings against the player characters as they travel through the kingdom. Maybe that's an easy thing for the bard to get around in the group. But maybe there's also a religious individual who's like, the player characters, are against my faith, and I'm going to stir up the populace. And they're like, wait a minute. Okay, so the populace is against us, and the leadership is against us. And when they keep reoccurring over and over again, I think this would be pretty cool. Um, Princess Bryhammer says, GM intrusions are a fantastic concept, and I use them all the time in whatever system I'm playing. Also, Numenera's consumable system. Uh, Craigasm? Is that what you call it? Craigasm? Yeah, because it's. I, I'm assuming you mean like cray cray. Yes, the GM intrusion idea. I think okay, if you have a really good group of players, they're not even going to need the GM intrusion system. I feel like GMs and DMs should be allowed to. Oh, it's a Twitch. Yes, it doesn't show. I'm gonna I'm gonna consider that to be a funny a funny aside. But yes, on yes, whenever you put in a Twitch emote, it doesn't show up on Restream. It shows up as the definition of what that emoji is. Yeah, yeah. So it is a Craigasm, which maybe that's someone's last name. I don't know, but it's pretty funny. Um, uh, anyway, the the idea to that we can like Batman not killing the Joker could be done with this GM intrusion idea. Maybe there is a it can feel like a cheat a little bit in the game if you don't warn your players ahead of time. If you're going to have this type of system involved in it, like, hey guys, listen, there might be some things I want to include. Like a GM intrusion can be you're surrounded by gnolls and you're going to be captured. Now, many players will say, "Well, I'm playing Billy Badass. I'm going to fight my way out of being surrounded by 47 gnolls with crossbows and javelins or something." But a GM intrusion basically is the GM saying, "Okay, forego all the rules. Here in the narrative, I want this thing to happen as I say it does, and allowing me as the GM to allow it to happen. I'll give you something in exchange. It's like a give and take. And essentially, that's what a GM intrusion is, a give and take. I'm going to give you inspiration if you allow me to do this thing. I'll give you advantage on, that's what inspiration is. I'll give you advantage on one element, or, hey, I'll let you, I don't know, there might be some other element in the game that is an economy in your gaming world, and pay off the players to allow you to quote unquote capture the heroes when they are surrounded or something like that, instead of having them fight all the time. And then maybe players might go, yeah, I'll put that in my back pocket if I can save some of that up. Sure. Rogues galleries. Let's get back into like Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery a little bit and come up with some villains. Yeah, thanks. Tesla puts in the Whirlwind. Whirlwind was accused of being a stalker of the Wasp, who he was so obsessed with that the Masters of Evil let him go so that he wouldn't ruin any of their plans when going up against the Avengers. Whirlwind denied these accusations, but also seemed to confirm them unwittingly, as he claimed to believe that the Wasp loved him and that they would someday be together, and that other people just didn't understand. Oh, I love it. They just didn't understand me. Whirlwind, could you please step outside while we have a talk? As the Masters of Evil, Whirlwind's like, sure, sure, sure. Gives me enough time to text the Wasp 37 times. Oh man. Oh no, Dead Man, don't do that. Dead Man's like, real evil would be a mod that who puts the channel into emotes only mode. All you can only communicate with emotes. That's it. Forever and ever. Although I think some people would just get a kick out of that. They're like, "Oh, really? Great! Oh, we've got better ones than like the shit emote." Although you wouldn't want other bodily effluvia as emotes, but sure. Ooh, that went dark. Ooh, I didn't mean to go darker than scatological humor. All right, so some of some of the rogues gallery for like Spider-Man, as I was saying, like very naturalistic, Spider-Man being a spider, and then there's the scorpion and the fly and the vulture and whatnot. I think it would be pretty cool to take the player characters and then find some enemies to build around the player characters that show up. Like, for example, let's go with a Tempest Cleric, because I was thinking of the Shocker with Spider-Man, but let's go with a Tempest Cleric. Tempest, the cleric summons storms, lightning bolts, and things like that. Maybe we can find some enemies that are wrapped around the weather that are either enemies of that player character's, for example, that player character's religion. Like, for example, maybe there is a pure electrical. What's a good electrical Dungeons and Dragons monster? The Bahir. I don't really hear about too many Bahirs. They're blue dragons, but nah. Let's go with the lizard-like centipedal monster, the Bahir. So maybe there's a battle between the gods. Yeah, shocker lizard. Yep, sure is a shocker lizard. Or combined together, right? Maybe a small child that existed in the village of the the Tempest Cleric. Maybe the Tempest Cleric didn't arrive soon enough to stop a storm, and maybe the small child is like, "You could have stopped the damage to our village," and whatnot, and blames the 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 main character. Or like maybe when a cleric heals their allies and tries to heal some locals, maybe there's like 80 people that were harmed in a storm, but the player character only heals like 5 people. And the other people that are injured, they're like, your God didn't take pity on us, and I don't like them anymore. And so maybe they become something else. Or maybe there's almost like a crucible of a test, and that player character is besieged by maybe an enemy that can summon fog, and then another enemy that is nothing but wind, like an invisible stalker. Maybe they're hunted by an invisible stalker that's nothing but air incarnate. What's something else with the weather? Maybe there's some other a void. Maybe there's something airless out there. Like, so in other words, taking what the player character is about, and then taking just small little things and creating enemies behind them, taking some stat blocks from some monsters or whatnot, scratch off the serial numbers, reskin them, and just send them after the player characters over and over again. Gribel's like, humanoid awakened Bahir storm sorcerer. The, they call me Storm Snake. Why the hell not? Why not? Why not make the Bahir a humanoid that maybe they rip their skin off and their like face comes out that breathes out lightning bolts or something like that. I would do that. Yeah, just reskin, reflavor, reuse that stuff. How awesome would that be? Of course, Gribel goes on to say, and uses armies of shocker lizard rogues who electrocute people from the shadows. See, there you go, there you go. I'll give you a clap on that one. I'll give you a slow one. Shocker lizard ninjas, hell yeah. Somebody's getting ready to go to bed. Ninja reaches up, touches their big toe. Ow! What the hell? Gotcha. Having a heart attack. We also save lives as well. Watch out, everybody step back. Defibrillator. um, uh, Michael's like, just getting here. Funny that I watched Far From Home last night. Yeah, we're having some fun with rogues galleries here, and teenage teenage rogue shocker lizards. Yeah, instead of mutant ninja turtles, teenage rogue shocker lizards. I love it. I love it a lot. Now, something else with the rogues gallery, of course, the rogue going up against our protagonists, sometimes on their own, like the shocker, like Electro, which they're almost kind of the same character in many ways, like the Vulture and whatnot. A lot of times, yeah, they get their ass kicked pretty easily by our hero, but it also allows them. Listen, sometimes while I understand we get frustrated because due to action economy, a lot of times our heroes our protagonists will trounce anything we throw at them. But sometimes we really need them to shine. Now, what can happen is, yes, our hero, Spider-Man, can defeat Electro on his own, fine. Defeats Vulture on his own, fine. Defeats the Lizard on their own, fine. But when they combine together, along with becoming an adversarial when it comes to other narratives in the game, whether it's political or economic or social, spreading rumors and lies and setting up the players for murder or through theft or blaming them for other things, and you start to add these other things on top of them. For example, maybe one of the rogues gallery is a beloved defender of a small village. And if the PCs come in and start trouncing that individual, the people in the village are like, but we love the shocker. We love the teenage rogue shocker lizards or something like that. Why are you beating them up? PCs, and PCs are like, they are bad people. And the people in the village are like, well, we've never seen them be bad. You're wrong for doing that, and so on and so forth. The Worm Tongue character, right? PCs want to beat the ass of the Worm Tongue, and Worm Tongue's like, they like me. Mike Gould says, well, Shocking Grass is instant shocker. Doc Ock is armies of Hadar or Mage Hand. Yep. Arms of Hadar, right? Doc Ock, Arms of Hadar. Yep. Craven is literally a hunter rogue, hunter ranger. Jeez, where's my mind going? Yeah, Craven is literally a hunter ranger. Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, Craven the Hunter. Yep. Should J. Jonah Jameson be included in Spidey's Rogues Gallery? I do have up Wikipedia, and Wikipedia does mention J. Jonah Jameson, not necessarily as a rogue in a Rogues Gallery, but as a non-supervillain enemy. I think yes. I say yes. I think J. Jonah Jameson does fit because, with J. Jonah constantly foiling Spider-Man's attempts to be well liked, setting the authorities after Spider-Man, who Spider-Man does not want to harm. Uh, Michael says J. Jonah would be an eloquence bard who rants about the heroes. Yep. Singing songs and standing on a proverbial soapbox telling how wrong the heroes are, or like spreading rumors about, well, you think they took down the local dragon out of the mountain, but it really wasn't them. Oh man. Mike Gould says villains are the dark reflections of the hero in some way. If you want a rogues gallery for your players, take an aspect of a player character and twist it. Absolutely. Yeah. Take something and twist it. And again, yep, do him up as a town crier. Of course. Town crier or that one person that keeps that one gossip that's like, oh, I don't like to spread gossip, but listen. and the PCs are like, oh no. And of course, this is a person who the rest of the population doesn't like, or they actually pretend to, but they're like, what happened today? And the J. Jonah version comes over the fence, like, listen, psst. And it would be funny if that individual, a whole big busybody. Well, I really don't want to spread rumors. I'm not the type to do so. But I thought you should know. Yeah, they do have a portable hole in their back pocket. Oh, a portable. Ooh, let me go steal that. So the as the going back to the dark reflection of the heroes, I think it's all right to find a stat block or make characters that are better than the player characters, at least in one aspect. For example, let's go with the Craven the Hunter idea. Well, maybe the Craven the Hunter is a ranger, a hunter ranger, and the characters are 5th level, but the dungeon master makes up this character as like 8th level, 10th level ranger to hunt the player characters. But maybe because oftentimes these rogue characters, rogues gallery characters, have a blind spot, and maybe this ranger has no social skills, and the players can like hide out in the city because the ranger's always out in the wild. It's like, maybe not more bestial, but just like, hiding out there, and everyone's like, oh, you stink, go away. And maybe there's some limitations. So a lot of times, even though we want to default to making a big bad that's better than all the player characters combined, maybe we just want to make them better at one skill or one ability. Like, for example, Spider-Man's spider sense doesn't work against Venom, or like Wolverine can't smell or sense Sabretooth, that kind of thing. I know that sounds more like a rival or nemesis, but there are certain aspects of, like, it's difficult for Spider-Man to avoid Doc Ock's arms, for example. Deadman says, like the villains from Order of the Stick, we're just evil counterparts to the heroes. Yep, exactly. Even if the heroes are like, that person's not like me. Yeah, they are. Michael says, a whisper bard, then. He generates false rumors to make the populace frightened of the heroes. Yeah, exactly. Or if you want to use a let's go with something monstrous. I love the idea of just making a player character. But if you want to go with something monstrous, maybe they're a siren or a harpy, and we just reskin what and who they are. Like, for example, or maybe they really are a harpy that is, dare I say, uh, socially acceptable, which sounds kind of weird, but like maybe the harpy has so many rumors and secrets that spread around that the population doesn't want the harpy to be killed, which is why the player characters are like, hey, I am proverbial Fightor. I need to kill monstrous beast. There you go, bird body, human headed creature. I'm going to strike you. And other people are like, what are you doing? That harpy's our friend. We feed it body parts. Michael says Venom or any other symbiote is the shadow dark blessing on an NPC. Morbius would be a Dampier. Dampier. Yep. Let's see what else we got here. Chameleon is a doppelganger, of course. The Jackal is a necromancer. All right. I'm gonna challenge you. Vulture. Uh, let's go with Vulture, maybe, or who else? Vulture. Who's some other characters in there? The Rhino. You could find Rhino. Could be like a hill giant or something like that. Sandman, maybe Sandman. Come up with that. Deadman puts in the Discord the Sand Crackler, a large creature with electric effects. I didn't know there was. Well, there's always something out there, but yeah, I didn't know there was something called the Sand Crackler, but it makes sense. Getting that electrical discharge. Also in the Discord, Tesla says it is common for a hero's ooh, rogues gallery to have some kind of unifying theme that either reflects or contrasts with the personality, powers, and or origin of the hero himself. For example, most of Spider-Man's enemies gain their powers through scientific mishaps, and many use animal motifs in their names and costumes. Exactly. The same origin for the heroes might be a twisted version for a rogues gallery. A warlock actually fits perfectly with this. Dead man, there you go. Dead man, Aarakocra White. Ooh, oh, ow. Whites and wraiths are already pretty terrible as they are. Giving them that very maneuverable bird like flight would be pretty damn nasty. Yeah, yeah. What else? Like Vulture's Aarakocra, Rhino is an ogre with the charger feet, Sandman is an ooze. Yeah, yeah. See, that's what I mean. Like, oh yeah, just reskin it. Yeah, sure, he looks humanoid, but really, Sandman is probably more sand than human. Just able to form into a humanoid shape. But yeah, absolutely, with a personality. Sandman could also be an earth elemental. Okay. With a slight mod to him, just allow him to slide through different areas. Or what's the other one? Uh Cloaker or Rug of Smothering? No, no, Rug of Smothering is the magic item. What's the one? What's the creature that looks like a floor? Rhino, a human possessed by an evil rhino armor. Yeah. Um, ooh. Gribel says Vulture could be a winged Asimar White, draining life to maintain his divine spark. That's pretty good. That's pretty. See, I love all these ideas, right? Yeah. Trapper. Is it the Trapper? Is that the name of it? Yeah, the Trapper is the floor that springs up around a player character. Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, I guess I would default to an ooze though. Maybe I like the idea of an ooze more than an earth elemental. A little bit more uh, da- danger-fied to me, I think, just mentally. Mike Gould says, again, take the undead description and read the fine print. Target humanoid. So the Aarakocra white is bang on target. Yeah, it does say target humanoid. We often default to human, especially when it comes to things like targeting and undead creatures and things like that. So yeah, an Aarakocra absolutely fits into that. Oh, I didn't mean what? What happened in my hello test? There it is. All right, there we go. Sorry, my thing. Involver? Do you mean an evolver? Oh, what oh, no. Fiend Folio, humanoid. Fiend Folio looks pretty ridiculous. Humanoid ooze. Uh, um, adhesive, a walking gelatinous cube, basically. I was it an involver? Is that the name of enveloper? I can't remember. Anyway, original Fiend Folio. Yeah, they had, it had some of the greatest and some of the most ridiculous monsters in that damn thing. Adherer? Yeah, we can keep going on and on with thesauralistically. We can keep going on with that. All right, so um, something else I like, I absolutely love with the Rogues Gallery, and I'm going to go back to the growth of the Rogues Gallery, and I'm going to link this in with the background or linking it to the player characters. Like um, for example, when the player characters do something in your world, you could start to add in individuals literally based off of the side effects or the aftermath of what the players do. So, for example, players are in a small town, they fight enemies. Maybe a wizard casts a fireball. Maybe there's one of the more martial characters takes out some of the enemies, but they leave a bunch of dead bodies and maybe destruction all around. Right then, innocent bystanders, people that are viewing the proverbial player characters disrespecting nobility or rich merchants or criminals organizations or something, and maybe one or more of those individuals are like maybe become obsessed with the characters. Ooh, like in The Incredibles, the I want to be your sidekick, like get away from me, kid, kind of thing, right? And they're like, oh, really? Oh man. Oh, Tesla says the anti-spider squad ass, a unit created by Major J. Jonah Jameson to take down Spider-Man. Should have should have hired someone for making up an better acronym, because I'm sure Spider-Man was like, yeah, you left yourself wide open on that one. Boom, boom, wide open. Get it? Anyway, Michael says Kingpin is an evil cloud giant mob boss. Ooh, I likes that. Hiding safely upon his floating Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen is a real place. Cooking up some evil. Cooking up some evil. In the there's some pretty interesting Spider-Man villains, I think, just because of Spider-Man's like age and where Spider-Man lives, like in New York City and whatnot. So I think using player characters' backgrounds, where they're from, where they've traveled to, some of their capabilities. As a matter of fact, you can even make it even interesting, even more interesting, like going with the Warlock idea that there's a rival group out there, and that rival group or individual at least is trying to recruit people to themselves. Like, no, I'm a better warlock servant than you are, or something, or I should be held in higher regard in the faith, or I, I'm more humble and righteous than you are, there, paladin, or something like that. Absolutely. Michael says the MCU Iron Man once said, "We create our own villains." Absolutely. A vigilante DM will jump on this opportunity to generate rivals for their players. Absolutely. Not everything a player does will be appreciated by their enemies, and players are usually pretty destructive. Players usually leave a lot of um, debris and destroyed lives behind them. And who's to say? Like, for example, the classic destruction of the goblinoid horde, of course, with the pregnant women and children left in tow. There's definitely room right there to create a rival that lives and grows with the player character's capabilities, following them, having interactions with their NPCs and things of that nature. I think so. Yeah. Oh no, no, Deadman. No. Yes, Hell's Kitchen is a real neighborhood in New York City. No, no, I'm talking like a literal kitchen in hell. I know, I know Hell's Kitchen is a real place, and you're speaking to other people. Yes, Hell's Kitchen is a real place. No longer looks like Hell's Kitchen from when it was called that, when Daredevil was like defending it as well. Grabble says, I always wanted to use this NPC as a as a kingpin type villains, an Italian mafia like Beholder, and an obese, glamorous Medusa, a suave diplomatic ogre magi. I love that. It's because we're going to talk about the X-Men, right? But if we can fast forward to that, the Hellfire Club. If you guys know anything about the X-Men, there was the Hellfire Club. It was basically a bunch of individuals who are elite in their own right as members, like the chessboard. So you had a black queen and a white queen. You had a king, the bishop, the rook. And so they all kind of represented chess pieces, and they were moving pawns on the board of reality, essentially. So yeah, having each one of them are a big bad. Of course, on their own, they really can't stand up to our player characters. But when they combine together, it makes a lot of sense. And this could be a great way to hide some pretty strange gonzo elements in your world. Like, why would a Medusa be teamed up with an ogre magi who has an ally that's a sphinx who also has Naga side henchmen or something? It's like, why would they be together? And then this might be the reason why, like, you have these disparate, dragons working with a lich, working with a vampire, working with a demon or something, but they combine together. And the reason they're combined together is it ties them together because of the player characters. Michael says the Warlock class itself is a great shortcut to generate a rival for a wizard, cleric, or paladin. The PC refused to train or help an NPC, so that NPC sought out a patron to punish the PC. Exactly. They um, they became a great warrior and refused to teach me their martial blade like arts, and I couldn't defend my village, so I made a deal with evil. I would do anything to rival that. Yeah, exactly. That's where warlocks come from. You know, why the heck not? Why the heck not? Or if a player character is a warlock, someone else could be looking at them and says they cheated. They gain power far and above their station. So I refuse to make a pact with some entity, some powerful entity. I will train on my own, and one day my skills will be seen better than they ever will, or something like that. Right? You could absolutely flip it on its head. So absolutely. Now, lastly, I will say this is also a great way to defend our feelings. So let's get a little closer. Let's get a little more sensitive here. Um, DMs, game masters out there. All right, let's take a pause here and bow our heads in respect for all of the enemies that we've ever created that just got their asses wiped by the player characters, and our feelings. We just were like, all we heard was that down sound music, that doom doom da doom. Oh, and we just were like, wow, they just trounced my lich lord. Oh, I can't believe it. Listen, a rogues gallery allows us to flex our creative muscles And B, if we've got 8, 10, 12 people, adversaries, enemies in our little rogues gallery, if one of them bites the dust, whatever. Eh, you know what? Maybe I did have some close feelings with my I don't know, my reskinned troll gentleman who drank a potion, who can never die, and whose limbs literally can get severed, and they grow into new versions of himself, and they're hunting the PC, and the PC turns around with one battle axe and shoot, kills him right then and there, and goes, "Oh, I happen to have a bottle of acid. Pour, pour, pour." And it's like, oh, I can't believe they did that to my. Well, now you've got 7 more, 8 more to follow up with it. And listen, we've seen in rogues galleries, they actually sometimes the whole plot of a rogues gallery is them recruiting more people into the rogues gallery. I look at you, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. I look at you, um, um, Doom, Legion of Doom. I look at you, Hellfire Club. So yeah, yeah, exactly. Mike's like monstrous villains or NPCs are only limited by the DM's imagination. I have an Obelix, a crime lord, a succubus revolutionary, yeah, a Medusa palliative care nurse, ooh, a Medusa bounty hunter, and a rival white hunter. I've used Medusas as bounty hunters and whites as hunters as well. I I don't know why they fit so well in that travel hunting at bounty hunter kind of thing, but yeah, a Medusa palliative care nurse. Don't look her in the eye. Don't look away. Yeah, I've used Medusas as artists, as sought out artists and whatnot. Yeah, Michael says, right? I dropped an adult white dragon on an unsuspected party. I had I had surprise, potential collateral victims, a falling landscape, and the party took his lunch money. Like, I've got the high ground. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. There's an avalanche, and there's a what is it, frostbite, and the PCs are like, I listen. Sorry, DM, I can't hear you. I'm rolling dice. uh, yeah, can't talk, beating ass. Gribel's like, rest in peace, Black Dragon, who got one shotted by a bard singing some. No, Kitty, can't come up here, not yet. I need some music. I wish I could have some soft music. Rest in peace, Black Dragon, who got one shotted by a bard singing some. Really, Kitty? Come on, because you're blocking the cam. Come on. You're blocking the cam, and you're also blocking the conversation. Yeah, Kitty. Okay, thank you. Sorry, that's Sophie. she's like, you should have been done already. It's been an hour. Sorry about that, Gribel. Uh, sing some what? Overpowered combo damaging song. Oh, an overpowered combo damaging song in D&D 5.3. Yeah, Mike's like cat life, right? Yeah. Cat's like, listen, you're working on my schedule. Cleaning the lens. Yeah, yeah. Wipe. Yes, and this cat does have a bunghole, unlike Cats the musical movie. Oh no. Mike's like, reason? Divination wizard. My dragon passed his. What's that? Oh, okay. Yeah. Divination wizards. Yeah, they're like, what's that? Nah, I already knew they were gonna do that. Oh, and by the way, let's give a couple of boosts to those die rolls. Sorry, DM, could you be quiet, please? Die rolling. You don't know what this villain has. Doesn't matter. Die roll. What's that on the bottom of my character sheet? DM's like, oh my god, I didn't prep for that. So again, rogues galleries kind of protect our feelings. I think it's a good barrier to that. Also, if you're someone, listen, we all know the person, sometimes someone like myself, who, when you suffer from world builder's disease as a DM, there are players who suffer from player character creation disease, right? We can find a way to come together, the meeting of the minds, to come together, that when you see the new supplement comes out, when a new character combo is presented to you, when there's new stat blocks and you go, "Ooh, wouldn't I love to see this?" What a great way to stick them into a rogues gallery. Maybe you have a player who makes a bunch of player characters and you really don't have time to sit down and make characters, like actual character concepts. But a player's like, oh, I made this third level ranger, seventh level rogue, eighth level barbarian combo, but I don't think I'll ever get to play him. Here you go, DM, and you go, great. I've got a great name. I found some images on ArtStation, and then you insert them in there and you stick them into a file off of the side, and you make them a rival in the game. And when that player goes up against that NPC that's created just like they are, and they start to get their asses trounced, you're like, nope, you're the one that created it. You made the combo. And you're like, oh, I did. Wow. That whisper bard, shadow monk, I don't know, ranger that I created, like, wow, they really can kick ass. I love it. Mike Gould says, one player won a landed title because of that fight. I turned my short fight into a chance to insert political intrigue. You know what? That's the other part of it is absolutely include the narrative. Like, why are they fighting? Is it Medusa bad, heroes good, heroes fight Medusa, or is it Medusa cursed because one of the player characters is far more beautiful than they were? Or is it Medusa, you thwarted my plans 3 sessions ago. I'm going to send agents after you, and I'm going to get those agents from the aftermath of the people you left behind as a innocent villager. Is like, the players burned down my tavern with a fireball and never repaired it. And it's like the Medusa's like, ooh, I know something. Here, drink this concoction. I got this from an old hag. And the person's like, I don't care what it is. I just want my revenge. They need to pay for what they did, and just follow that along. And how interesting would it be to do a callback? I mean, that's a very common comedic, dramatic, television, book, mystery, movie thing to do a callback. Much more than like a Chekhov's gun. It's the thing ignored by the protagonist in the beginning comes back to haunt them at the end. Mike Gould says that's the same party that married into the hobgoblin khanate. Whenever things went really sour, they pulled out a miracle. Ooh, see, I don't know. I love narrative flashback, or not flashbacks, but yes, flashbacks, callbacks. I love the idea of like the goblins that ran away that come back to fight another day. The heck, if you're the type that does the goblins become hobgoblins that become something else, the kobolds that might grow into a dragon kind of thing. I love it. I love that idea, and what a great way to use it. What a great way to use that in your game. Anyway, guys, got to get out of here. Thank you very much for just being part of the show. Tomorrow we're going to do. Let's go into Batman. Batman, a little bit more gritty. Also has that thematic tension with Batman in terms of like of the insanity, the obsession. Batman, in many ways, is considered to be just as crazy, if using that terrible word, crazy and insane as the people that he fights. But yeah, Michael says callback. Yeah, that succubus revolutionary is the reason that Malconthet or Malsynthet or succubus tieflings exist in my world. Ooh, she's also the reason the night hag was trapped in the same iron jug that contained her. I like that. You know what? We often don't have something that really is good with. We can use rogues galleries. Is that if you were to remove the player characters, oftentimes we don't consider our adversaries to have interconnected relationships with each other. Like, are the hill giants at war with the hobgoblins, or is the dragon trying to enslave the, I don't know, the Snurfneblin or something, or the Sahogan are constantly besieging the land-based uh, lizard folk or something. Like, we often don't do that, but coming up with ways in how their interactions, that the love hate, peace war kind of the Cold War between our enemies, and when the player characters throw a monkey wrench into that system, now you might have these strange bedfellows working together. And in many ways, they create their own villains. So I like that. So tomorrow we'll do Batman, and we're probably going to talk about Batman and Gotham, because Gotham City is kind of a friend and enemy as well, and such. So yeah, tomorrow we'll do Batman. Guys, thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for just being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Please go out there, like, share, subscribe, spread the news on the channel. Thank you very much for supporting me in what I'm doing, and please go over to levelup5e.com. Please go over there and check out what will hopefully by October, fingers crossed, the layout, the play testing, and all that will be done. There's artwork. It is literally advanced 5th edition. They're going through the play test process right now, and you too can download a ton, probably hundreds of pages of material, and take part in how it's being developed and whatnot. So absolutely, please take a look at levelup5e.com. Thank you very much, guys. And of course, you can find me down in the information below in the video, over on everything. You can support the channel on Patreon and Ko-fi, Ko-fi, Ko-fi. You can also support the channel over at Drive Through RPG, and just look up Critical Hit Publishing. And you can even join the Facebook group and the Discord. So when I'm not here, you guys can talk with each other. And of course, with using the chat over on Twitch and YouTube, and Facebook, sometimes you're limited in what how many characters you have. So Discord is a great place as well to dump in pics and links and things like that you were not able to do so with the live show. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it.